Hey everyone, my name's Pete Krause with Modern Cardboard, and today we're going to learn how to play the White Castle. My goal for this video is to give you a comprehensive rules overview so you're ready to get this game to the table either today or in the near future. So with that said, I'll stop wasting time and get to it. The White Castle is set in the 1700s in the Himeji region of Japan. Players take on roles as minor clan leaders, all competing to be the most highly revered clan under Daimyo Sakai Tadazumi, who governs the land out of the majestic Himeji Castle. Of course, to be the most revered, you must devise the best strategy to earn resources, position your workers in prestigious places in and around the castle, and finish the game as the clan with the most victory points. The White Castle is a strategic resource management and worker placement game for 2 to 4 players. A game consists of 3 rounds, tracked by this fish in the upper right corner of the board, and a round consists of 3 turns per player. So that means you only have 9 turns per game to build your resource engine and develop your winning strategy to become the highest revered minor clan in the land. On your turn, you'll pick a die from either end of one of these 3 bridges and place it on an available legal spot that shows a die symbol on the main board or your player board. Wherever you place the die, you'll take the action shown. Your actions can include things like gaining resources, earning influence, and deploying one of your 3 types of workers, gardeners, courtiers, or warriors from your player board to their respective areas around the castle grounds. Your gardeners get deployed to work in the plant and stone gardens. When placed, you immediately gain the benefit of their space, and sometimes even continue to do so between rounds. At the end of the game, they score the number of victory points noted by the gold fan icon on the cards they occupy. Your courtiers are deployed to the castle gate, and then can advance through the levels of the castle. The castle is made up of 3 levels. Level 1, the steward level, Level 2, the diplomat level, and Level 3, the daimyo level. The higher they climb, the more valuable they become in endgame scoring, as noted on the room they occupy. You also acquire the action card from the room they occupy in levels 1 and 2, which you use on your player board to hopefully advance your strategy. And your warriors are deployed to the training yards, where you immediately gain the benefits from the tile or tiles in that space. Warriors score points at the end of the game for every courtier you've placed in your castle on levels 1, 2, and 3, and this is noted on the corner of the training yard space they occupy. At the end of the game, you are awarded points from your remaining resources, the influence you've earned on the passage of time track, and of course the gardeners, courtiers, and warriors you have on the board. Add them all up, and the player with the most points wins. To set this one up, start by putting the game board in the center of the table and place the coins, daimyo seals, and these tokens marked with a +40 and +80 next to it. Find the tan-backed steward deck and the dark blue-backed diplomat deck. Shuffle these and place the tan steward deck on this space in level 1 of the castle, then deal 1 card face up into each of the 3 level 1 rooms. Then place the dark blue-backed diplomat deck on this space in level 2 of the castle, dealing 1 card face up into the 2 level 2 rooms. After dealing these cards, check to see if all the dark background actions on the cards in the castle are the same. In the unfortunate case they are, you will need to return all the cards to their respective decks, reshuffle, and deal again. However, if there are different dark background actions, you're good to go. There's one exception to note. If you're playing a 2-player game, find and remove all cards with a diamond icon in the lower left corner of both the steward and diplomat decks and return them to the box. Since we're setting up for a 3-player game, we'll leave them in. Find and shuffle the daimyo cards. Choose one and place it face up on level 3 of the castle and put the rest back in the box. Find your die tiles and shuffle them with the die side up. Randomly place 1 tile of each color, orange, black, and white, in these diamond spaces here, here, and here. Take the rest of these die tiles and randomly place them with the die side face up in spaces starting with 1 through space 10. There must be tiles of at least 2 colors in each room. If the last tile you place in a room is the same color as all the other tiles in that room, move that tile to the next available space and put another tile in its place. If you get the same color again, you would just do this again until you get a different color in that room. The last 2 tiles go die side down in the well area, like this. Then take your black fish round marker and place it on round 1 in the upper right corner of the board. Now it's time to set up the bridges and dice at the left side of the board. Place the orange bridge at the top, the black bridge in the middle, and the white bridge at the bottom. Roll 1 more die of each color than there are players. So for 4 players, roll 5 dice of each color. For 3 players, roll 4 dice of each color, and so on. Since we're setting up for a 3-player game, we'll roll 4 dice of each color. Then take the rolled dice and place them on the bridge matching their color in ascending order from left to right. When you're finished, the lowest value die is placed next to the lantern on the left, and the highest value die is placed on the far right. The remaining dice fill in the middle of the bridge in ascending order. Now find your garden cards and split them into 2 decks, one for your plant garden cards and one for your stone garden cards. Shuffle each deck and deal 1 card from the plant garden deck face up on the plant side under each bridge, and deal 1 card from the stone garden deck face up on the stone side under each bridge. And then put your leftover cards back in the box. Take all of these yard tiles and give them a good shuffle. Randomly place 1 tile in each of the 3 yard spaces on the board. If the space has a yellowish background, flip the tile to place it yellowish side up. If the space has a bluish-green background, flip the tile to place it bluish side up. Now let's move to your player boards. Take the 15 workers of your color and separate them by type. You should have 5 warriors, 5 gardeners, and 5 courtiers. Place your warriors in the 5 spaces next to the white die symbol, place your gardeners in the spaces next to the black die symbol, and place your courtiers in the space next to the orange die. Then find your resource cubes for each player board. Place the tan cube in the 0 space for the food resource. The gray cube goes in the 0 space for the iron resource, and the white cube in the 0 space for the mother of pearl resource. Take each player's influence marker that looks like this, shuffle them, and randomly stack them on this heron icon at the left side of the Passage of Time track. This stack now determines turn order for the first round of the game from top to bottom. Then place the herons, matching your turn order, in these spaces next to your stack. The right top space is for the player who goes first, so red in our case. The space below is for player 2, and so on. Put each player's fan-shaped tokens below the number 1 space on the victory point track. The last part of setup is players choose starting actions and resource card pairs. Find these orange starting resource cards and these yellow starting action cards and the 3 decree cards. Shuffle the orange and yellow decks and place them on top of each other like this. Deal out 1 more card from each of the decks than the number of players. So since we're setting up for a 3-player game, we'll deal out 4 of each card. Arrange your cards like this to make up your starting pairs. If the resource card shows a symbol of a decree card on it, tuck the matching decree card under the resource card. Moving from last to first through turn order, each player chooses a matching pair of starting cards. They place the action card face up in this space on the right side of their player board, and then takes the resource card and collects the following: 2 mother of pearl, 1 iron, and 4 coins. So the blue player gains 2 mother of pearl, do that by moving the cube, and 1 iron. And I'll move the gray cube 1 space higher. 4 coins. And then you take the decree card that they earn, they put that in the lantern reward section, and then now that we've collected everything on the reward card, that gets flipped over as well in the lantern reward section. Place all the unused starting cards back in the box, deal 1 player aid to each player, and we're ready to play. A game of the White Castle takes place over 3 rounds. During each round, each player gets 3 turns. You start with the player at the top of the turn order track. Once they're done with their turn, the next player goes, and so on. When the last player takes their 3rd turn for the round, there is an end of round phase where new turn order is determined, gardeners may gain rewards, and the dice are re-rolled for the bridges. After the last player has taken their 3rd turn for the 3rd and final round, turn order is determined, and then it's time for final scoring to crown the winner. On your turn, you take a die from either end of the 3 bridges, never the middle, without changing its value, and place it on one of these available die spaces on the main board or one of the 3 places on your player board. If the value shown on your die is greater than the number shown on the die space, then you collect coins equal to the difference. If the number on your die is less than the number shown on the die space, then you pay coins equal to the difference. And if the value on your die is equal to what is shown, no coins are paid or awarded. Once you place your die, then you take the action or actions, and the turn passes to the next player in turn order. But before I get to actions, there are just a couple things you need to know first. Once you remove a die from the bridge, slide the closest die from the middle of the bridge over to replace it. If no dice remain in the middle of the bridge, then that space will remain empty. For the gray die spaces on the main board in 3 and 4 player games only, if a die already occupies a space, you can stack 1 die on top of the existing die, but there can only be a maximum of 2 dice in one space. For example, in our 3-player game, the yellow player stacks a 5 on top of the 6. They would pay 1 coin. This is a 5, so they'll get 4 and change. And then they can take the action. Again, this stacking rule only applies to 3 and 4 player games and never to the spaces on your player board. Now that you know how dice work, you might ask yourself, why would I want to take a die from the left side of the bridge where in most cases I might have to pay coins to use it? So when you use a die from the left side in your bridge, you also get to collect the lantern reward. The lantern reward earns you what is shown on all cards in the lantern space at the bottom of your board. In this case, the blue player will collect a daimyo seal and an iron. We'll collect the iron first. And just a quick thing about daimyo seals, they get stored at the top of your player board and you can only have a maximum of 5. Alright, I just wanted to take a minute to say if you like this style of video and you like this channel, please remember to like and subscribe as it really helps support the channel. So with that said, let's get back to the game. Now it's time to look at actions in the castle. We'll start with the light background actions, which usually reward you with coins, resources, or influence, and then we'll tackle the dark background actions, which let you place one of your workers on the board. When placing a die on one of the spaces in the castle, you take the action or actions that match the color of the die placed and in any order you choose, if there are more than one. So for example, on my turn, let's say I place this 6 on top of the 4. Since my 6 is greater than a 4, I collect 2 coins. Then I get to take the light colored action next to this orange die tile. I collect 2 coins and then get to take my lantern rewards action. For one more example, I place the 6 on top of a 4. I would collect 2 coins. Then I get to take the light background action next to the white die tile. This is collecting 1 influence. And so let's say I'm the red player. I would move my token to this first influence place. And just a side note here, as you gain influence on the passage of time track, if you need to advance past one of the seasons, you must pay 1 daimyo tile to go from season 1 to season 2, 2 daimyo tiles to go from season 2 to season 3, and 3 daimyo tiles to go from season 3 to season 4. And then I get to take my lantern reward action. And for the red player, they get to collect 1 food. So I move my food cube up 1 space, and then the red fan means that I collect a victory point. And so I take my fan marker and put it on space number 1 on the victory point track. Just a quick note on victory points. Any victory points you collect during the game are indicated by a red fan. Any victory points you collect during final scoring at the end of the game are indicated by gold fans. For a list of all the icons used in this game, refer to the back of the rulebook for this handy reference. The restriction to the castle die spaces is that you're not allowed to place a die in a castle room if there are no matching die tiles in that room. Now let's look at the 3 dark background actions that let you place your workers. One important note that applies to all actions throughout the game is if there's ever a number next to the icon that is red, that means you pay whatever is shown rather than gain it. If you run into a situation in the game where you're short on coins or resources, your daimyo seals can be exchanged 1 for 1 for coins, or they can be exchanged 2 for 1 for iron, mother of pearl, or food resources at any time. And to remind you of that, it's conveniently noted here on your player board. The gardener action is indicated by this bridge icon. When you take this action, you remove the leftmost gardener from your player board, choose one of the plant or stone garden spaces where you don't already have a gardener, move your gardener in, pay the food cost, then collect, or in some cases, pay and collect what is shown on the space next to your gardener. At the end of the round, gardeners have the potential to earn this bonus again if there is a remaining die on the bridge above the garden space. And as we know, at the end of the game, you'll collect the victory points shown on this space. The warrior action is indicated by this icon that shows a flag and a small building. When you take this action, you remove the leftmost warrior from your player board, choose one of the 3 training yard spaces, move your warrior in, and pay the iron cost as shown. Then you collect what's shown in the tiles of that space. This icon lets you perform a light background action from any card in the castle on the main board. Unlike gardeners, you can continue to select a space where you already have one of your warriors, or another player has their warriors. At the end of the game, you'll collect victory points for each of your warriors in that space, multiplied by each of the courtiers you have on levels 1, 2, and 3 of the castle, not the courtiers at the gate. The courtier action is indicated by this majestic Himeji castle icon. When you take this action, you have the option to pay 2 coins to take the leftmost courtier off your player board and place them at the gate, and or the option to advance that same courtier or a different one in the castle up 1 level for 2 mother of pearl to the room of my choice, or up 2 levels for 5 mother of pearl. If you notice, I said and or, so you could just put 1 courtier at the gate, or you could just move one of your existing courtiers up 1 level or up 2 levels. The reminder for these costs are listed next to the gate of the castle. You can even move a courtier to a room if you or another player already has a courtier there. When one of your courtiers ends their movement in a new room, you take the card from that room and replace the action card on your player board with it. The card that was on your player board now gets turned face down and placed in your lantern reward area. And now you can see how you make your lantern reward area better and better. Then you draw a new card from the corresponding level deck in the castle to replace the one you took from that room. Lastly, you get to take 1 light background action from the card you just placed on your player board. When you advance a courtier to level 3 of the castle, you get to take a lantern reward action, then place your courtier in 1 space on the daimyo's favor card and gain that bonus. If no spaces remain on this card, then your courtier just hangs out to the side of this card, but will still earn victory points at the end of the game. At the end of the game, you'll collect victory points for each courtier you have at the gate and in the rooms of the castle. Victory point worth is noted in each room. Now that you know the actions, the rest is pretty easy to explain. So let's focus your attention on your player board. On your turn, when you move a die from one of the bridges to one of the spaces on your player board, you collect the reward from all the uncovered spaces, and then take the action which aligns with that row. So in this example, I would collect 1, 2, 3 food, I would collect 2 coins, and then from my action I get 1 iron, and then get to take my lantern reward action, which gives me a victory point, gives me another coin, I earn 1 influence, and lastly gain 1 mother of pearl. Just remember, you can't stack a die on an existing die on your player board. As you place your workers, you'll uncover more and more spaces on your player board that make your player board actions stronger and stronger throughout the game. Now, moving back to the main board, there's still two areas I need to point out, and in both of these areas, dice color does not matter. The first is this area outside the castle walls. When you place a die in the left space of this area, you may take either the Gardener action or the Courtier action, and when you place a die in this right space, you may take either the Courtier action or the Warrior action. Stacking of up to 2 dice is allowed in this area for 3 and 4 player games. The other area to point out is the well. You and your opponents can place as many dice in this area as you like. When placing a die in this area, the posted die value on the space is always 1. You place your die off to the side, and then you will usually collect coins unless your die value is 1. You collect the daimyo seal, and then collect the other 2 rewards. After each player has taken 3 turns, you perform the end of the round steps. You'll know when to do this because there will be a total of 3 dice left on your bridges after a player's turn. The first thing you do at the end of the round is assign turn order. To do this, you look at the influence markers on the passage of time track, and whichever one is farthest forward will be the first player for the next round. The next player is second, and so on. If 2 tokens are stacked on each other, the top token is first and the bottom token is second, etc. Just like we saw at the setup of the game. The next thing you do is reward any gardeners if they are in either space below a bridge with a die left on it, or dice left on it. A gardener in this situation will collect what is shown in the space next to him. You then re-roll all the dice and place them on the bridges just like we did at setup of the game. And finally, move the round marker to the next position. And the first player in the new turn order starts the next round. After the third turn of the third and final round, you will first reassign turn order based on the influence track, just like we did at the end of the round, and then you add up the final score. As a side note, even though you're not playing another round, you reassign turn order because this will be used to break a tie in case it's needed. To figure the final score, start with your resources. Add your remaining daimyo seals and coins together, and then you gain 1 victory point for every 5 that you have, rounded down. So if I add my 3 daimyo seals and 9 coins, I have a total of 12, so I would collect 2 victory points. Remember to track your points on the tracker at the top of the board. If you go past 40, you take one of these plus 40, plus 80 markers, and if you go past 80, flip it over to the plus 80 side. Next, you collect points for any of your remaining food, mother of pearl, or iron. For any of these you have in the 3 to 6 range here, you collect 1 point, and for any you have maxed out at 7, you collect 2 points. Now you collect victory points for the influence you gained during the game. So if you progressed your influence past the first season, the points awarded will be shown below your influence marker. And then add up your victory points from the gardeners, courtiers, and warriors. For each gardener, you add up victory points as shown in that garden card. For each courtier you have at the gate, you collect 1 point. For each in level 1, you collect 3 points, 6 points for level 2, and 10 points for level 3. Warriors in these 2 spaces get 1 point for each courtier you have in the castle, and warriors in this space get 2 points for each courtier you have in the castle. When counting your courtiers, only count the ones in levels 1, 2, and 3 of the castle. The ones at the gate don't apply. So our blue player here would score 2 points for each courtier in the castle. They would score 2 points for this one in level 2, and then another 2 for the one in level 3, for a total of 4 points. The winner is the player who has the most victory points, and in the case of a tie, the player ahead in turn order wins. Alright, so that is how you play the White Castle. I hope I met my goal and now you're able to get this one to the table with your gaming group, either tonight or in the near future. If you like this style of how to play video and you like the channel, remember to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. So enjoy the White Castle, and we'll see you next time.